Verse 12. The 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kingdoms, which have received no kingdom as of yet. They hadn't received a kingdom as of yet, but that means they're going to receive a kingdom. But it doesn't mean they haven't had a kingdom, because when you look down in verse 17, for God hath put it in the hearts of the 10 horns to fulfill his will. Now, hath put, let me just say this one more time. Hath put is the word edoken, E-D-O-K-E-N. It is aorist tense, indicative mood. Anytime you see aorist tense, indicative mood, and you look that up in a parsing guide, an analytical lexicon, it is past tense. That's what it means. Past tense. What this is saying, John wrote this book in 96 AD. Somewhere before 96 AD, God has already put it in the hearts of the 10 horns to give their kingdom to the beast. Their kingdom back here, the 10 horns, their kingdom back here, and they give their kingdom to the beast back here. And when John is writing this in 96 AD, the Bible is implying, well, it's actually saying, that they're going to have a kingdom in the future, but they hadn't received it as of yet. But they've had one that they've already given away. God put it in the hearts of the 10 horns to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. Now I want you to remind you, look back up there at verse 13. These 10 horns have one mind and shall continue to give their power and strength unto the beast. The word power is the word dunamis. The word strength is the word exousia. Wait a minute, I want you to notice. I want you to notice. The dragon gives the dunamis and the authority to the beast, but the 10 horns gives the dunamis and the exousia to the beast. How can it be the dragon? The dragon is the great fascinator, isn't he? Huh? Wait a minute. Isn't that the tree worship of the garden? Huh? And they deified the sun as the orb of the day since Satan was the enlightener of men's minds, and they worshiped the serpent. In all the pagan world, they worshiped the serpent, the tree, and the sun. The totem pole, the rattlesnake, and the fire. Early America. And we went west and we said, we'd like to bring you savages Christmas. They said, no thank you, we've already got it. Isn't that great? We were going to go out there and Christianize them and say, let's sing Joy to the World. So here's what I'm getting at. I started to get to this a while ago and I lost my train of thought. If the dragon gives the dunamis, which is the word, remember, dunamis is the resurrection, isn't it? Does the beast resurrect in a physical sense when it comes alive to conquer Israel? And exousia comes from the word E-X-E-S-T-I, and we get our word existence from that, and from this word we get E-I-N-A-I, and this is the verb to be. It means to exist. The beast only exists because Israel gave it up. Here's how the dragon is the Babylonian, it's Satan in the Babylonian system, but the dragon is the serpent in the garden giving Eve the tree, isn't it? Well, wasn't Israel seduced into tree worship and fire worship? The same thing that's going on in the garden? Well, who is it that seduced Israel? Dracon. The same thing that seduced Eve in the garden. Isn't it? That's how, when the dragon seduced Israel, when Satan seduced Israel, I put it that way, he is the dragon. When he seduced Israel to go after Baal in the grove, and they stayed for 500 years worshiping this system called the Christ Mass. Later on, when Constantine brought it in the church, it's the same system of the Saturnalia, the Feast of Saturn. That's Satan that seduces a man to do that. Isn't it? That's what, huh? We'll do what with equals? All right, well, let me just put it this way. Let's just put it this way. The dragon, Dracon, or fascination, or nakash, or enchantment, isn't that all it takes to get somebody to follow you? Enchant them. Do a sales job on them. Be a car salesman. That's all it takes. Hey, buddy, I've got... This car is you. Get away from me. That's all it is, isn't it? Hey, pal. Don't call me your pal. I don't even know you. I really like your kids. No, you don't. You don't know them. That's seduction is all it is. Don't go with me to a car lot. I'll embarrass you. If you don't want me to, I'll call the guy. Don't talk to me that way. What do you think I am, a dummy? 68 years old. What are you? I'll say stuff like that to him. I told the guy, me and Mary went up there. We were in there, and here, write all this down. Now, what will you give for this? I said, don't do this to me. I don't like that. I did just that very thing. Don't do this. That makes me mad when they start trying to get me sign something. And finally he said, well, you got to use a little persuasiveness in your church, don't you? I said, now you're in my territory. We don't believe that. We believe in predestination and God will save who he wants to. And he was going, that's funny. We don't persuade nobody. Okay. The dragon equals giving dunamis, or resurrection, the beast coming alive. I mean, R-E-S-U-R-R-E-C-T. Resurrection and the 10 horns. Northern Israel equals giving dunamis, which is coming alive and giving dunamis and resurrection to the beast. So if the 10 horns is Israel, then the same thing that seduced Eve in the garden, the tree worship and the sun worship, which is Baal in the grove, and when Israel goes after another god, God said, I'll have you carried away into captivity. And that's when Israel ceased to be able to whip their enemies, isn't it? One more time, look back at it over here in Deuteronomy 28. Go to Deuteronomy 28. Can y'all see what I'm saying here? Yeah, that would be another gospel, another resurrection. We're using the word resurrection in the sense of the beast rising up and resurrecting as a world power. But the beast couldn't rise up as a world power as long as Israel was obedient to God. No one could conquer Israel as long as they're obeying God. Could they? Nobody. Look over here in Deuteronomy 28. This is a chapter that all the charismatics like, but they don't like the part that I preach about on it, the last half. Now, in chapter 28, it shall come to pass, Israel, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do. Boy, we've been talking about that in predestination, hadn't we? To do all his commandments. We're predestined to conform to the likeness of Jesus, and Jesus said, I came not to do mine own will, but the will of him that sent me. To do all his commandments, which are commanded this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee. He starts naming them. And they'll overtake you. You'll be blessed in the city and the field, in verse 3. The fruit of your body, the fruit of the ground, the fruit of your cattle, and the increase of your kind, the flocks of sheep. And verse 4, verse 5, your basket and your store. Verse 6, when you go out and you come in. And verse 7, the Lord shall cause thine enemies, it doesn't matter if it's a world empire, that rise up against thee, to be smitten before thy face. They'll come out against you one ways and flee seven ways. And all through the Old Testament, Israel's enemies came up against them that way. And Israel conquered with overwhelming odds. And look over here in verse 15. It shall come to pass, if you will not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, to do all his commandments and his statutes, you'll be cursed in the city, in the field, your basket and your store, the fruit of your body. Talking about Israel, not talking about pagans, Israel. And the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, the flocks of thy sheep. You'll be cursed when you come in, when you go out. Cursing and vexation and rebuke. Now, Kenneth Copeland don't like these verses right here. Because he says God wants you to be well and have lots of health. And when you disobey God like he does, you say, God ain't judging him. It's not over yet. Wait till the judgment. God may be reserving him for destruction. He's a wicked, evil man. So is T.D. Jakes, so is Rod Parsley, so is Benny Hinn, so is Fred Price and Creflo Dollar, and all the rest of those fools that lie to the world. And all that thou settest thy hand to do until you're destroyed, Israel, and until thou perish quickly because of the wickedness of thy doings, the Lord will make pestilence, that's sickness, that's disease, to cleave unto thee. More the charismatics don't like that verse, do they? Until you consume thee from off the land whither thou goest, the Lord shall smite thee. Not the devil. The Lord shall smite thee, Israel, with consumption, with a fever, with the inflammation. You think God won't make you sick? And with extreme burning. This is for disobedience. Did Israel disobey God when they went after Baal in the grove? Yes. And they were seduced by the great seducer, by the serpent, by the Dracon. Here is how Israel gives the power to the beast. They give their existence. When God says, I'll send four judgments, the sword, the famine, the pestilence, and the beast, God kept sending sword, famine, and pestilence over and over, and then finally, he said, the beast will carry you away. Well, Israel's been carried away for 2,600 years until May 14th, 1948. We're living in the end times. June of 1967, June 5th through 10th, that's the 6-day war. And what happened here? Here's what's amazing.